Welcome back to the Phoenix Mercury podcast. I am your host, Erika and I'm joined today by my esteemed and probably a little bit jet lag co-host, Stephen Garner. Stephen, how are you today?
Jet lag would be correct, but I'm blessed as always. I'm definitely up for challenges always, and needless to say, this weekend presented us with an abundance of them. But we are here, we are safe, and we get to talk hoop. So that is a blessing in and of itself. So looking forward to tapping in with it. How you doing, or how you feeling after this very eventful weekend?
You know, for the Phoenix natives, I luckily missed that atrocious haboob yesterday. So I'm feeling #blessed that I got back to Tucson just in time. I'm just, honored to be here, excited to be back on the show with Stephen. We're joined by Shane behind the scenes today. So I'm pretty excited that we have such a fun show planned for you guys. And also, we just came off of the best All-Star weekend in league history. Let's just start there. So I just think we have to speak on this pretty quickly because, I've been waiting all weekend. I know Steven's excited to talk about it. Steven, it was obviously your third All-Star weekend, my first, but it was your first in Phoenix. How would you say that this All-Star compared to past All-Stars that you've been to?
This, and no bias in any capacity, is the best one that I've attended. So for full context, I went to the one here in Chicago, 2022. Went to the one in 23 last summer in Las Vegas, and then obviously this one being my third one this year in Phoenix. The Phoenix one felt the most comprehensive, and it was from the functionality perspective, having things in close proximity, having so many events for fans and players to attend and to like kind of ingratiate and integrate themselves with the community. It felt like it was very much organized on that end of things. Like I said, the functionality part as far as getting from one location to the next felt very concise and as easy as you could make it, which obviously is important with the Heat inevitably being a entity when you're dealing with Phoenix. And then some of the other biggest things for me that made it the best in my personal opinion, for one, Matt Ishbia, Josh Bartelstein, and Nate Tibbetts were highly, highly, highly visible. If we polled every single person that attended, now it obviously matters if they know what these figures look like, but I would say that 80 to 85% of people came in contact with them, whether they just brushed shoulders with them, noticed them from a distance, or actually got a chance to say hi and, take a picture with them, et cetera, et cetera. And you can say the same for Kathy Engelbert to the same extent because she was everywhere as well. In addition to those polarizing figures on the business side of things, the players, particularly the Phoenix Mercury players, were very visible. We saw, and a lot of people said they got to see Natasha Mack. A lot of people saw Natasha Cloud. And a whole lot of people also got a chance to see the likes of Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner and Kalia Copper as well. Just kind of following around all over the place over the weekend. So it was just generally dope. And then the last big thing for me, outside of the visibility of these people, the fact that there was quite literally this state-of-the-art facility honoring the best player in franchise history, one of the best players to ever touch a basketball in the history of basketball itself as a sport. All of that in conjunction with the weekend and celebrating and growing the game was just awesome all around. And for all of those reasons, and the league picking up steam is why I feel like it was the best All-Star weekend that I personally experienced. I can't speak for the ones haven't been a part of, but it's got to be up there with the best of all time for sure.
And I know a ton of the people in the chat. Mark, Andy, Stephen, they all got to go to WNBA Live and experience the convention side of it. I know Mark got to come to the game, and a lot of other viewers got to come to the game. And I've heard through the grapevine that they also had the time of their lives. And I mean, how many times were we walking up the street and we brushed shoulders with Nate Tibbetts? That is not something that I would say I do on a regular basis in downtown Phoenix. And it was just, like you said, it was very integrated with the community. You drove into Phoenix immediately. I showed you all the signage. I took Stephen on a little tour, and I mean, the city was all-star, and I just think it was a very special basketball environment to be a part of.
I cannot agree more with everything that you said, and especially to the point of the representation and having. I mean, we're driving. I forget what street we were on, but we're driving towards downtown Phoenix, and there's a big portrait on one of the skyscrapers in downtown Phoenix with Asia Wilson. And then you turn a corner, and then you see one with naturally Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner on there. And then you turn another corner, and you see one with Alyssa Thomas on there. And it's just player after player after player after player. That's the type of vibe you want to get just off of driving around alone. And then you get to actually walking around, and then you might see those exact players. If not, see other players that are on the team, or generally speaking, players in the W that weren't on the All-Star team or the Olympic team that tapped in for All-Star Weekend and decided to, support their teammates and support the league that they're playing a big part in it, rapidly ascending. So it was just awesome all around. The energy was incredible, and we saw a lot of fun stuff on the court as well.
Absolutely. And before we get into all of that, because trust me, we are getting into that, I do want to make sure that we mention the fact that I put some special content into the PHNX Diehard chat this weekend. Some very special content of Erika may or may not have participated in a certain contest. And the only way that you will ever see the video representation of this is if you go to gophnx.com and become a Diehard and join us in that Diehard chat. You get a free t-shirt, free hat, one of your choosing. It's a good vibe. There's so many benefits, but on top of the list happens to be this video that is floating around the Discord right now, and I'm not giving anyone access to it unless you join that chat.
I think that's a great catch on your end, and make sure you noted that at the beginning of the podcast. I couldn't agree more. I would highly recommend seeing it. I actually haven't seen it yet, which is crazy. She did it on purpose. She did it on purpose for sure, and that's okay. I'll rely on Chris to make sure that some way, somehow I get a chance to see this video, Erika hooping. So yeah, shout out to the community. We appreciate y'all.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure that you can say Erika was hooping, but she was doing something out there,
It's the participation piece that means the most, though.
There are no trophies for that. We've gone over that. We're Mercury. No, we don't take participation trophies in this house, and they did not give me any participation prize, and I did not ask for one. Y'all have a nice day. I will not be asking for nothing. Mark said I have a shot, though, and he's not wrong. I do have a shot. Just no bending in my knees, But while you guys are at gophnx.com, make sure you throw this video a like and 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. With all of that, though, moving into the basketball we saw over the weekend, I think we should start with a special shout out to Kelsey Mitchell for moving into the skills contest at the last minute once Erica Wheeler had a similar to Steven's situation and couldn't make her way to Phoenix. And, she did not win, but she did kill it and represented Erica Wheeler very well. And that being said, we saw a very interesting history actually on Friday at the skills contest and 3-point contest, and we saw for the very first time the same player win both in Alicia Gray,
big Al,
not
Al.
Lil.
That's right, never the Lil, Big Al, yes.
And she did. She came. Stephen and I were dying laughing because she might not get into the playoffs this year, but she did make sure she got a championship this year.
She said, if I'm participating in all these events and I'm pulling up, I'm coming away with a couple of somethings, not just one thing, a couple of somethings. And I think she set the tone for the entire weekend as far as the competition dynamic of everything goes, because the way she came out of the gate with the skills contest, sometimes it's hard to tell, like, some players like to play to the level of competition that the other players are playing at in any particular event that's taking place. And then there's dogs. That's what Big Al is. Big Al was not playing. The pace she came out with set a tone for everybody else that went after her. I think I can't remember who it was that said they were. So it was Sophie. It was Sophie. When Sophie realized that she had a chance to make the championship round in the skills competition, she mentioned to Holly Rowe. She mentioned to Holly during I guess during the intermission point going into the championship round, she realized she had to pick up her tempo and pace because Alicia was not playing around. She was not going through the motions in any capacity. She was going at game speed. You would have thought it was 10 seconds on the clock in our actual game, and she had to go through this entire course with concision and finish the way that she did. And I think that's the way that it's supposed to be. If you're competing, then compete. Otherwise, you're just putting on a show, and it's not going to hit the same as it should. So a big shout out to Big Al. Emphasis on the big. Coming away with that money, and she was not shy about letting everybody know what she was most proud of from it. And I love a transparent player. Don't duck it, own it, and that's exactly what she did.
You know, though, I do want to say justice for BG though, because how they gonna have our girl go first?
That was a very tough position for BG to be in. I would much rather Kelsey had gone first. But nonetheless, BG showed up. She showed up for the bigs as the only big in the skills contest. And, she did what she could, but she had some fleet-footed guards that have competed in this particular competition a few times before that she was up against. It was a little bit tough of a showing from the beginning. She had a time, somewhere in the 40s, the high 40s. And
46, but
yeah, 46. It was a little tough, but again, for somebody that's BG's stature, for her to be able, just to skill-wise, to be able to compete in this particular competition says a lot about, where she is. So big salute to BG. Never shied away from the spotlight and had some fun doing it, as I'm sure we'll note a little bit later on in the podcast.
Yes. I want to say that I don't think anybody in the building was having as much fun on Friday in particular as BG was.
Nah, no way.
And actually, while we're on the topic of BG, just real quick, we didn't break the news, and quite frankly, we don't deserve to. BG is a parent, and so we just want to make sure we give a little toast and a congratulations to BG and Sherelle and just the whole family, Baby Bash and company. Welcome to the Mercury family. I just know everybody in the organization is so excited to have baby around, and I know BG was glowing all weekend. You never really know the situation with birth, but I think she had been a little stressed. You could tell in the seeming last week or so. And I will just say it, that stress is clearly and visibly gone. And she is just back to having a big old blast of a time.
Yeah, correct. And I think it was fun to see the interactions in pregame prior to the All-Star game on Saturday, where there was a media reporter, I wish I could remember their name, that asked DT if she had any tips and advice that she could give BG in terms of being a parent. And Diana was quick to say no. She said that BG is an amazing human being and that she would figure things out the way that she needed to fit her particular style of life. And I mean, I couldn't agree more. I don't think BG is someone that struggle with parenthood in any capacity.
Absolutely agreed. So again, just huge shout out and congratulations to the Griner family and all the Mercury organization as a whole. I know everybody is so excited. Nonetheless, though, while we're on the topic of great bigs, we got to talk about the 3-point contest and just what went down. I mean, Stephen and I were having a field day up there. We were making bets, and I mean personal, no money involved, but we were having a hoot of a time trying to figure out who was going to take home this 3-point champion trophy. Stephen, do you want to tell the people who you thought was going to win?
Yeah, I was going to mention it anyway for full context. I thought it was going to be K-Mac. K-Mac loves to shoot in the footprint center, as we are all witnesses to.
Well aware. Yup.
And K-Mac has been quite literally the best 3-point shooter in the WNBA on percentage as well as volume. And it's she's been on a torrid pace this season in terms of 3-point shooting. It's ridiculous. It really is. So all of that context applied, and knowing the type of dog and competitor that K-Mac is, when we made our propositions before the event happened, and I was like, I got K-Mac. I did mention that I could see Alicia smoking everybody. And I did also mention with JJ shooting that thing the way that she has this season, that I could very much see her. Nonetheless, my pick was K-Mac. I was 10 toes down on it. I threw those two little caveats, and it's funny that the latter two are actually who ended up, being in the championship round. And K-Mac didn't have the best showing, unfortunately. Nonetheless, it was a very competitive event. Shout out Marina Mabry for adding a little fuel to the fire in it all as well. The newest member of the Connecticut Sun. I'll remind you all, for who might not have known or maybe forgot after everything that happened this weekend. But there's also shout out Big Mama Steph for tapping in. She had some fun showings. You astutely called out how she was going to get it going from the top of the key. And I believe she ran off the entire rack, if I'm not mistaken. If not, she missed maybe one shot from there. So shout out you for that. It was a very fun competition at the 3-point challenge.
Yeah, and y'all already know JJ, she just straight up ate the girls up. I mean, I know those who were unfamiliar with JJ's game were watching, and honestly, Big Mama Steph, while we're at it, we're just watching this go, what the hell are we watching? But they delivered on every front. Entertainment first. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think I've seen a 3-point contest that was that entertaining. And I think back to the 3-point contest we had last year between Steph and Sab. And so for them to have stepped it up yet another level to bring it here to where it's at, it was just a very, very exciting competition.
It was. And I think it was a natural evolution for the W to open up the pool of players they're assessing for the competitions over the weekend, because Brittany participating in the skills contest. You got Big Mama Steph and JJ participating in the 3-point shooting contest. Typically, those two competitions are more so built for guards, but we are in the middle, or the inception of the evolution of women's basketball. These particular competitions are not specific to only guards or only wings. Now it's everybody. I'm sure for example, for full context, I'm sure that somebody like Azure Stevens, who's finally healthy, is somebody that could greatly participate in the skills challenge and do fairly well in that. By that same measure, there are other players across the W that are not guards and maybe not even small forwards. They might be power forwards and centers that could certainly participate in the skills challenge and do so successfully. So just that being said, I would like to see the W, and I would like to challenge the people that decide who's participating in these competitions to add and make it a little bit more even. Maybe do 3 guards and 3 front court players to make this and kind of allow for it to be an opportunity to showcase and really tap into the evolution of the skill, because we can't keep speaking on growing the game without putting these players in these positions to showcase on the highest of stages that you have available to, to present it to the public, and allow for these players to also make a name for themselves from these situations like this. Not that Jonquel Jones needed it, but for anybody that didn't know or might not have known, this was your very much a wake-up call that Jonquel Jones can do everything on the block that any other post player can do, but can also shoot the 3-ball arguably as well as most guards in the W, to which I believe last time I checked, she was like top 12 in 3-point percentage on an above average or at least average volume. So there's that with that. Keep tapping into the evolution of the W and allowing for these front court players to showcase their talents as well.
All of what Stephen just said, but there is a super snap that we have to address right away, and I just know you're going to have something to say about it as soon as it's up on your screen.
Oh, wow.
And listen, okay, you need to know 2 things. First, Tyler is my good friend, and I had lunch with him yesterday, and I was mentioning to him that I am a Dylan Brooks stan. Like, I love Dylan. I may have told you this in the past. I love a guy who is willing to be the villain and accepts that role, and he has done it on every team he's ever been on, and I find it very highly entertaining. One of my favorite basketball games I've ever been to is the Lakers and the Grizzlies when Dylan Brooks was still playing for the Grizzlies. Just top-notch entertainment. I mean, am I watching The Real Housewives or the NBA? I'm not sure. You know what I mean? And so with all the context that is applied of Dylan accepting the villain role. I did, in that context, say that Angel is the TB24 of the W. In any other context, though, I need to defend myself. So I just want to make sure that I say all of that.
I do not think that is a one-for-one comparison. I don't care what context you want to apply to it. One is a role player as an agitator. The other one is arguably the best player on her team and a top-end draft pick that does not instigate, but always can match energy if and when need be and take it past the level that it was brought to her at. I think that's the difference. Nonetheless, I like the dynamic in having players that have that type of chip on their shoulders that always raise the level of competition, albeit one does it in ways that might not necessarily be the most appreciated.
Or
I can see,
ethical.
or ethical, even more specific. Nonetheless, I can certainly see why somebody might, kind of look at it from that lens. Shout out Tyler for the super
Tyler's putting
chat.
me
We
on
appreciate
blast.
you. We appreciate you for that. But yeah, that's a fun dynamic to always have in any type of competition. Somebody that's not scared to stir the pot and raise the level of competition for not just their teammates but also their opponents, and be able to match energy and exceed energy.
And speak of Angel's performance this weekend, let's move into the All-Star game because we saw a hell of a performance from this All-Star team as well as Team USA. But starting with the history that we saw from just the two rookies in the All-Star game alone, we had Angel Reese with the first ever double-double by a rookie in the WNBA. That's pretty exciting. And then on top of it, you had Caitlin Clark with 10 assists, which is the most assists for a rookie in any All-Star game. So really from the rookies, we just got absolutely exceptional play. And quite frankly, the vibe from both of them was exactly what the league and all of its fans wanted, right?
Correct. This was the 14th time in W history that a player has recorded a double-double in the All-Star game. She was also the 10th player to record a double-double in the All-Star game, joining she was the 10th player to record a double-double, in this All-Star game, including Tina Thompson, Yolanda Griffith, Lisa Leslie, and a cast of other legends. So just to be involved in that particular crop of players, and yet another statistic this season, just adding up the laundry list of accolades that Angel is just compiling this season. It's crazy. It's really crazy to think about for somebody whose game was questioned to translate to the W, how impactfully on a historical level,
Well, let's talk about someone telling her that and her rightfully defending herself
Oh
in the moment.
man. Oh man.
Period, Angel.
Listen, period. If I could snap, I'll snap my fingers because that's hitting like spoken word. I couldn't agree more on that.
But we haven't even mentioned it, but the Olympic team did fall to Team WNBA. And I had a bunch of people, including Kobe, who's in the chat in my text, talking about, were you nervous for the Olympic team? No, no, no. And usually Stephen is the one that talks me off the edge, but let me just talk y'all off the edge real quick. Most of the squad, Team USA, just played 25 basketball games, finished up on Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest, and then got on a flight to head to Phoenix and has been in the hottest place in America all week. Then on top of it, they come out, they play a team full of people that are hungry to be in their position and want to be Olympians just like them. And the Olympic team has to go continue to play basketball for 3 more weeks after this All-Star game. So no, I'm not concerned. I am just think that they were not reserving their bodies. I think Team USA wanted to win just as badly as Team WNBA. But that being said, I think the coaching was a little bit different than for the All-Star team, considering All-Star team is now on vacation. And Caitlin was sure to let us know right about that immediately after the game was over.
Listen, I have never seen a player so urgently rush from post game to the podium to talk with us to get out of there. Kayla was on a mission. And I would like to note that for people that have been speculating and talking, for these rookies to be as impactful on the historical level that they've been through this first half and some change of their rookie campaigns, remember, these players just got done playing basketball in early, mid-April. Then they had the draft. And then they had to go to, training camp and then start playing with their respective teams. there's like literally no break in all of that. And Caitlin, one of the first things she made sure to note is that she said she sucked at shooting in the All-Star game. Those are her words. And she made sure to note it, and she made sure to apply the context for us. She's like, you guys gotta understand, like, I've been playing basketball nonstop since the beginning or since training camp and even going into my senior year of college. And there's been nonstop. There's just nonstop basketball. She was like, guys, I'm tired. She said verbatim that she couldn't wait to just like not touch a basketball for a couple of days. And she's like, I know that sounds weird to hear, but I'm tired. And you could tell, like, she did a great job not showing it and not playing her cards, and letting it be seen. But by the end of the press conference, you could definitely tell, and she definitely earned this rest that she's going to get going into the latter end of the regular season of her rookie campaign. One that I think is going to be as loud as this first quarter or this first half and some change that we've seen for her. Having some fresh legs and having a fresh shot. She said her arms were tired because she's never shot the basketball this much in a window of time in her life, which I thought was hilarious, but also speaks to, how taxing basketball can be when you're playing nonstop the way that these rookies have been. So I think she's earned and much deserving of the rest that she's going to get. Can say the same thing for Angel and Camila and any other rookie that's in this all-time great type of rookie class that we've seen in 2024.
I do think it's very interesting, the difference in Angel and CC, because CC said, I'm on vacation. Angel flew to Paris.
This is true.
She said, I am outside. Catch me at the Olympics, whether I'm there or not.
This is true. And it's just hilarious to kind of, see, especially speaking to the All-Star game, those two players always pinned against each other, whether that be from the media, whether that be from fans, whether that be literally the way that the brackets have set up for them since high school and obviously through their collegiate careers as well. To see those two on the same team and to see some of the synergy between those two that we saw in terms of the moments, whether one was on the court and the other was cheering the other on from the sideline, or them playing in tandem with each other. They had a couple of plays where they were working together offensively and defensively. Fun to see, and fun to see them also engaging with each other in a way that was very much organic. It was not forced in any capacity, which is important to note for the people that needed to hear that. And you see how enjoyable those two kind of had a fun time with each other in the All-Star game. I think that was beautiful for the game. I hope that that's also beautiful for the multitude of discourse that we've seen the last 3 years now. But yeah, I think that was maybe one of the biggest highlights of the All-Star weekend. And before we kind of get to, everything pertaining to Team USA and the All-Star game itself, past just those two, definitely wanted to hear what were your kind of like 3 favorite moments from the All-Star weekend. For
yeah.
Sure.
So we've actually already mentioned 2 of them, but I'm going to go ahead. I think that we go 1 for 1. I start with my number 3 and then you go, yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
My number 3 is absolutely seeing Ishbia, Josh, and Nate out on the streets. I mean, they were angel level in the streets this weekend, okay? They were out there. They were interacting with us. They interacted with fans. I saw Nate out on the court at WNBA Live making shots with the kids. I saw the ownership team. On Thursday, the ownership team was checking out WNBA Live at 9:30 at night. I'm repeating, 9:30 at night.
Wow.
They were out there checking it out, and they were just as much embedded in the Phoenix community as every other fan and media member, whoever was there. They were there and a part of the community every step of the way. And above all else, you could tell how much fun they were having and how excited they were for this community.
Yeah, that's actually my number 3 as well. And I think that was probably the first thing I noted when we pulled up, when I finally arrived on Friday afternoon. First thing I was noting was the fact that there's Nate. And then we left.
You had been in town less than an hour and we saw Nate on the street.
Correct. And then I was in town for 30 minutes after that. And then we saw Nate again head into the arena to check in for media stuff. And then obviously hearing and seeing Matt everywhere as well. And then you can throw Josh in there as well. I talked about it in the opening. I think that really matters because being visible, like it just really matters for when you're trying to really put together a community that's bought into the product that you all are putting on the court, and not just being a name that they can attach to the team, but literally being a face and a figure, saying like, yeah, we see Matt around all the time. He's not someone that's only in the, in a booth somewhere at the top of the arena and watching the game from the boxes. No, he's in the trenches. Even when he's at Suns games, that dude is sitting courtside or he's sitting somewhere around the team bench, and he's very visible. I think there's a lot of value in that. And I think that's one of the most impactful things that I've seen past the monetary moves that Ishbia has made since he came into ownership of both the franchises in Phoenix. So I think that's certainly my number 3. That visibility is just invaluable.
Before I say my 2 and 1, do you think we have the same all the way up the board?
Find out on this episode of Dragon Ball Z.
All right. My number 2 is absolutely just the team dynamic with Angel and Caitlin. What we got to see in the pressers.
So 2 for 2.
Okay. If we have the same number 1, I think we just might have the sprint. For those of y'all that don't know, Stephen and I haven't gotten to spend too much time together. When y'all saw us at the takeover, a month and a half ago, that was Stephen and I's first time meeting in person. We had a lot of fun together this weekend, really just hanging out with one another and having the most fun. So I'm glad that we have the same bottom 2 at least. That means what I thought was fun, you thought was fun. So I did my job of making sure you had a blast in Phoenix.
Job well done for sure. Shout out to you for that again. I appreciate you. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Say what you got to say about that.
It's just Angel and Caitlin. I mean, the 2 stars of the future, 2 future faces of the league. At some point, they will be 2 of the most polarizing figures the league has ever seen, the sport has ever seen. What more can you say? They were just awesome together. They were awesome, just generally speaking, with their teammates. A lot of people were asked questions, people being players, even the coaches to a certain extent were asked questions about how those 2 were with their teammates. Did they feel like the spotlight was too big for them? And pretty much everybody said that they handled it as professionally as you could possibly imagine. And they also made sure to have fun, and they made sure to bring the most out of everybody else by way of them having fun as well. And they wear their crowns very well. And I think that's the best way to kind of sum up just the disposition that those 2 have and how impactful they are in terms of their presences.
I mean, we've been watching them play against each other for quite some time. And I think, as I saw Matthew in the comments earlier, a unity moment was just truly needed for the universe. It restored my faith in humanity. It was impactful to the culture in more ways than we could ever talk about on this podcast.
I could not agree more.
We got to get to number 1 though, because I'm really on the edge of my seat. I don't think we have the same number 1 though.
I don't think so either.
Okay. Mine is DT hitting the first shot of the game, and it was my major talk to the wall moment where I'm like, all of you people texting me about why do we have a 42-year-old on the Olympic team? Talk to a wall. Go watch the first 10 seconds of the game, and you can see exactly why we've got the 42-year-old rocking with the squad.
That's a great point. And I mean, outside of Breanna Stewart, who also hit 3 3-pointers in that game, it was Diana Taurasi. After we had a nice lengthy conversation about Stewie's transparency and media availability and speaking to how she hasn't been able to knock down threes, she goes out and knocks down a 3 in this game. And right in our faces. And to that point, Stewie took 9. Who took the second most after her, which is important for the shot profile of this Olympic team, was Diana Taurasi. She might not be playing the same amount of minutes that she played in previous Olympics, and she might not have the type of usage, especially in functionality, but also in volume that she had in previous Olympics. But she will still have a very impactful role. And that 3-point shooting, the tough shot making, and the consistency and reliability within that is something that just never wavers. And on top of that, you can compile all the players together, excluding her, and nobody has the breadth of experience in international basketball that DT has. And when you're speaking to the rising level of competition from everybody else that's competing for a gold medal outside of Team USA, having that as a piece that whether she's, producing at a high volume or if she's just a steady hand in terms of her presence and providing leadership, you just can't put a value in that. And there's just so much importance in it. And we'll be talking about the roster and Team USA and whatnot in a few short moments, but there's just so much value in DT being on the team. Like I said, for the three-point shooting, the tough shot making, the leadership, and the experience. And those things all make her invaluable, and she's going to be a piece that really helps get this team over the hump and bring home yet another gold medal in their illustrious history with women's basketball. That's a great number one. And we talked about how ceremonious it is and how it made so much sense for her to knock down the first shot. All of that fun stuff. My number one, and you got to make sure you channel it and process it the right way. My number one in experience of the weekend was Erika Ogunbowale and the WNBA All-Stars absolutely taking it to the women's national team. And I say that for one, because Erika certainly deserves this moment. For those that don't know, the same thing happened in, I believe, 2019, the last time that the Olympic team went up against All-Stars from the W. Erika brought home the All-Star MVP in that particular Olympic going into the Olympic break with the All-Star game. Dropped a whole ton of buckets. Like I said, brought home the MVP. And I think that's important, first of all, for her, because she deserves flowers for the absolute capital B, all caps bucket that she is. And she deserves, like I said, so much more attention than she gets at this moment in time. Other big thing for me, though, is that it's going to serve as a bookmark moment and lighting a fire under the women's national team to let them know you cannot cut corners. Nothing in this space is sweet. Nothing in this space is guaranteed. You have to be at a certain level. And if you get caught slipping, obviously other teams across the world might not have an Erika in particular, but other teams certainly have players that can put you out. Emma Miesemann comes to mind as a player in particular that can take over a game. I mean, that's a player that's won a MVP in the finals realm, for crying out loud, as a role player. She did that as a sixth player, I believe, in the 2019, don't quote me on that, 2019 WNBA finals. There are players sprinkled around the globe like that if you're just not handling your business for one particular matchup, and to that point, Erika had 34 points all in the second half of the All-Star game. You have to handle your business. And I think it's going to serve as a moment that really holds them accountable and lets them know that they still have work to do to get to the level that they certainly need to be to bring home yet another gold medal. And like I said, I just appreciate the moment, obviously for Erika, but also for the team in itself. And I think it'll help to kind of bring a little bit more organization to everything that that Coach Reeve is looking to establish in terms of rotations and who's going to be playing who's going to be able to guard what types of players and all of that fun stuff on the intricacy level.
I just have to say, I think after watching Erika now 3 times in the Footprint Center this year, I'm going to be real with you. I think sometimes she truly does forget that these people have families at home to feed, and she just goes to cooking, salt and pepper. I'm like, girl, can we calm down? I need next season, if she's still in Dallas, please, for the love of all that is good in the world, no more 30-plus points for Erika in the Footprint Center. Please.
Listen, I won't say that she forgets that people have families. I would say she just quite literally does not care in any capacity. If you are not wearing the same color jersey as her, you are going to get a bucket. And if it happens on a night like yesterday was, you are going to get an onslaught of buckets right in your face. I don't care if your defense was exactly as you hoped for it to be, or if it was bad defense, or if you got crossed over, or anywhere in between. It just quite literally sometimes does not matter with Erika, and that's why she is who she is. The best tough shot maker in the W, the best one-on-one player in the W, and one of the best players, generally speaking, in the W, period.
Erika single-handedly was the reason that Stephen got the full watching a game with Erika experience with the whole shoulder grabbing every time there was a tough shot. I'm like, oh my God, what are we watching right now? In the wise words of Stephen, what are we doing?
Correct. And I would just also like to note that she had all 34 of those points in the second half. I mentioned that part. She wasn't just coming out and chucking up shots. She also had 6 assists and also had 2 steals in this game. And also only had 1 turnover. Now, some of those things speak to the lack of defense and the lack of effective and impactful defense and help defense and rotations and containment of the ball from the women's national team. Some of those things speak to that. But I think there's a healthy 50-50 in them not being up to par where they need to be. that can be married also with Erika just being otherworldly, which she can do on any given night against any given opponent, regardless of if you have the Monstars assembled, which is quite literally the women's national team in this sense, or if it's another team that she's going up against in her WNBA schedule, at home or on the road. It does not matter. She's going to give you buckets.
Facts. Well, before we move into our little Team USA preview, I got to remind y'all that there is a very special event coming up this weekend. We got PHNX hosting a pickleball tournament. It's only $20 at Chicken and Pickle. I hear they've got chicken. I hear they've got pickle. Pickleball tournament with our friend Shane Diefenbach. I'm sorry, but what's there to miss at this point? Come out to Chicken and Pickle, go to the pickleball tournament, and then once you've got your tickets for that, make sure you stay on the website.
Sadly, it's sold out.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
But if you're, all those things still ring true if you're going to be there.
Yes.
Well, this is actually the first I'm notified that I won't be able to go to Chicken and Pickle because apparently it's sold out. This is horrible news. Wow, this is devastating.
That's just threw her for a loop for sure.
You know what? Rewind. Okay. Since we can't all play pickleball together, we can do something together on August 26th, and that is the Phoenix Mercury takeover. Stephen will be back in town. I'll be in my third of 8 road trips to Phoenix over the span of 9 days. And we will be taking over the Phoenix Mercury versus the New York Liberty. It'll be the final match of the season. And I mean, y'all all saw a bunch of Liberty players over the weekend. We all know the Mercury very well, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be the last one of the season. I mean, we've only got 18 games left, and only 8 of them are at home. And so this seems like the best opportunity of any to come out and have some fun at a Mercury game.
Yeah, come see some Olympians on both teams. Come see some of the highest level basketball you can see at this point in the year, but also generally speaking, even if you are a person that's only watched men's basketball games before, this will be some of the most elite level basketball you'll see. Come through, come kick it with us, come watch some hoop, and to be adolescent about it, be there or be square.
Yes, absolutely. I love when Stephen copies me. Ooh, whew, wow, what a fun show, y'all. Anyways, Team USA. It took everything in me not to just make the little clickbait today. USA, like an episode of Drake and Josh, y'all. I hope everyone gets the reference. I may be showing my young age right now, though.
Nah,
so.
iCarly, Drake and Josh, all of that. Those are the shows.
Perfect. I'm glad we're on the same page here. Now, just to start off, the United States of America is going to be looking for their 8th consecutive gold medal in women's basketball. This will be the most of any team consecutively. And good news, we get to watch the team tomorrow. So you don't even have to wait long in order to watch the team play again. And that's kind of what Stephen and I were speaking to a little bit earlier. They knew they had a game coming up in a couple of days. They were not trying to exhaust their body on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it was some of that. And I also think it's the fact that they quite literally had their first practice, the day or 2 days before that?
The day before.
So all of those things matter. You're not usually going to go out and win a game, especially when you're not just playing randomly like Team US or the All-Star team was, versus Team USA working on rotations, working on schemes, working on plays, working on, lineup pairings and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of context to be applied to it. But I think that this team is as potent as any team has been in women's basketball history. And that says a lot because, like you said, they're going for their 8th consecutive gold medal. It's like, just fathom how many eras of basketball you're cycling through to consistently have a leg up and 2 and 4 and 8, almost 8 legs up, 7 at this moment in time we're speaking to, legs up on all of the competition. That's a level of dominance that you're just not going to see in any other event. And it's just ridiculous. If we could go ahead and get this graphic up, just looking at the roster. So you got at the top of everything, Diana Taurasi, then you got Brittany Griner, then you got Kalia Copper, Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Alyssa Thomas, Chelsea Gray, Jewel Lloyd, Nafisa Collier, Sabrina Ionescu, she's in there twice, Kelsey Plum, and Jackie Young. Where's the weakness? Like, I know we could talk schemes. You could talk about like how things are going to work out with players working with one another, which we'll certainly get into after these opening statements. But this is just a highly potent roster that Cheryl Reeve has helped to play a hand in terms of compiling for particular reasons. And I think no bigger reason than the pressure they're putting on themselves to bring home number 8 in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, what did I say on Saturday when we walked down to our seats? Wow, we're gonna get to see Alyssa Thomas assist to Diana Taurasi today, and we're just gonna get to watch that for the next 3 weeks straight. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I don't think we could ask for a better gift from the basketball gods. Thank you, Cheryl Reeves and the Olympic Committee, for giving me my number one wish in life.
That is a great point. I'm just really excited to watch this team. There's a lot going on. So let's just kind of dive into the weeds on things. I know you might have already tipped your hand, but what's maybe the thing you're most anticipating seeing with this team, whether that be players playing with each other, a particular instance occurring, like what's piquing Erika's interest with this team going forward?
Two things. The dynamic I just mentioned, AT and DT, it seems so fun. AT plays with such a chip on her shoulder always, and so does DT, and I just can't imagine any less fun of a duo. But then also there is a certain trio that was walking around the Footprint Center giggling and wheezing around the whole time. And I don't think we've done them a service of talking about them as a trio, but it's Miss Jackie Young, Asia Wilson, and none other than the first-time Olympian, Kalia freaking Copper. Obviously, if you know, you know. This is Diana's 6th Olympics, BG's 3rd, right? Am I right about that? I think it's 3rd. Yep.
I believe
and then
so. Mm-hmm.
Kalia's very first. So there's an extra layer of specialty when it comes to Kalia's Olympic experience this year. But I think having Asia and Jackie alongside of her, I've just been watching. They are having a blast together, and I cannot wait to watch the 3 of them on the court together.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you with that in particular. And for me, the first thing I'm thinking about is looking at the pick and roll pairings that Cheryl Reeve has under her sleeve and under her umbrella for this particular team. So you got Chelsea and Asia, Kelsey and Asia, Jackie and Asia. Then you got Stewie with Sabrina Ionescu. And then you also got Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner. And then you also got Kalia Copper and Brittany Griner. Those players all have chemistry with each other playing in 2-player actions, and I think that's something that's really going to help this team. One of the other big things I'm looking forward to in terms of the lineups is, first of all, just seeing Kalia Copper on the Olympic level. I talked about her already having a EuroLeague championship and EuroLeague MVP, mind you, both of which came right after she won the 2021 WNBA championship and also took home the 2021 WNBA Finals MVP. Just win after win after win after win for Kai in 2021 going into 2022. Her game translates extremely well to the international level. I think that at some point, she's going to end up starting for this women's national team. And if for whatever reason she doesn't end up starting, she will end up closing consistently for this team. And it's particularly for one specific skill. And the first thing you're going to think about is either her getting buckets, her being able to get to the free throw line, or her being able to get to the paint consistently. That's part of it. But the biggest part for me is something that we did not see from this team on the all-star level, and that was playing defense. Kalia Copper is a player that consistently gets attention for being an all-W team level defender, all-W in terms of getting awards on the defensive side of things. She's a player that consistently takes on the best matchups. Now, it looks a little different with her having Natasha Cloud and Rebecca Allen on her team, but we can pinpoint, we just talked about the bucket getting of Arike Ogunbowale, who was guarding her for a majority of the time when we saw the Phoenix Mercury going up against the Dallas Wings. It was Kalia. And a lot of times we saw Arike getting off and really starting to find some rhythm when Kalia either got switched from guarding her initially or Kalia happened to be resting before Arike had a chance to, have her matched up with her again over the floor of the game. Those things are important to note because if you look at the roster, if we can bring that roster graphic back up really quickly, if you look on the perimeter, you have to question, okay, obviously Alyssa Thomas, Breonna Stewart, and Asia Wilson can switch on the perimeter and defend. And you could throw in the piece of Collier in there as well. In terms of front court pieces, can all switch and guard guards on switches and just generally guard players who are handling the ball on the perimeter with a level of reliability. The question at hand becomes, if your top guards are Chelsea Gray, Sabrina Ionescu, Diana Taurasi, Jewel Lloyd, all of those players can definitely get the job done defensively when need be, but are they going to be at the level that you need them at consistently? The one player in their guard/wing group that I know is never going to be a question as far as what they're bringing defensively is Kahleah Copper. And past the effort thing, because I don't think any of those players will ever lack the effort. They're not going to, first of all, they wouldn't be having USA across their chest without having that requisite level shown with their individual teams. So it's not that it's going to be an issue. My thing is, how effective will it be? Just seeing the way Erika was able to get off in moments over the All-Star game. One player that can put any opponent's fire out is Kahleah Copper. And I think that in addition to that, players that you're going to need to knock down the particular shots on the other side of the floor and play to a specific role. Kahleah Copper has won a championship playing in a particular role of being a defensive stopper and being able to knock down corner three-pointers, be able to cut to keep actions alive, be able to cut to score, and be able to do a lot of the little things on the margins that puts pressure on opponents to match your level of competition. Kahleah's won at the highest stage doing that. I just feel like Kahleah has the perfect opportunity in terms of a niche and a role to be carved out with this team to have that type of impact. And I think there's no better player to be put in those particular positions that will step up to that task and to be able to deliver in time on task on consistency.
We've talked about Kahleah's timeliness in games that were in a Mercury jersey, and I don't think that we will see anything different in Paris, right? Kahleah's ability to close out games doesn't change whether she's here or there, and everything that Stephen just said is a fantastic point. Kahleah has been nothing short of greatness. My mom is in the comments talking about I am for sure on the KFC bandwagon. Yeah, and so is the rest of America about to be here tomorrow at noon Mountain Standard Time.
Shout out Mama Day for the comment. We appreciate when Mama Day taps in. I could not agree more. Sometimes when talking about Kahleah, I take the professional face off and you just turn it to a fan just because, again, we always talk about players betting on themselves and players being able to overcome adversities. Kahleah was not picked to be a player that's going to be on the Olympic team based off of where she was drafted and where people projected that she would be in her career. So to see her so rapidly ascend the last 4 years now into this elite level player that's been top 5 in the W this season in a new setting, I just think things are adding up over time the way that they need to for her. And I think that a big stamp and a big cherry on top of everything that she's already established in her career would be her being able to not just get to the point where she's wearing a Team USA jersey, but also being such a key piece in everything that they're looking to do. I think Cheryl will ultimately see that, and it'll likely come through these games that we're going to see in the friendlies leading up to them actually getting into pool play as they continue to compete for this number 8 in a row. But I think that everything success-wise that they're going to be able to establish going forward is going to be Kahleah Copper heavily having a involvement level that's arguably as much as any other players just because she can play to a particular role that they're going to need, and it's at a particular position that they're going to need it from.
Absolutely. Well, before we go, I actually have something to mention, Stephen, and we've talked about this actually for the last 2 weeks, and we keep meaning to mention it at the end of the episode. And so I bet Stephen actually doesn't even know what I'm talking about, or he
I
does.
know exactly. I know exactly.
Oh, okay.
Don't underestimate me.
Because it's the Olympic break and there's not going to be a whole lot of Merc talk, we want to do a couple fun things for you. We've got a couple things in the works, but one of the first things we want to do is make sure we get a mailbag episode up for you guys. So coming sometime this week, there will be a tweet up on the PHNX Mercury Twitter account. I want y'all all to ask all of your questions there, Mercury related, WNBA related, Team USA related, about my height. Bring whatever you want here. But I just want to make sure we get that in here that y'all, and honestly, if you leave a comment under this video with a question, we will also ensure that gets answered as well. we just want to get all of your questions answered. We know there's so much going on in the WNBA community right now. And so if you can get some insight from some of the best in the biz, like Stephen and myself, then why wouldn't we give you guys that opportunity?
Exactly. And if we didn't make it abundantly obvious and clear over the last 3 weeks now, the Phoenix Mercury have 3 USA Olympians and a 4th in Rebecca Allen competing with the Australia Opals, coached by former Mercury coach Sandy Brondello. So the team has 4 Olympians. That's a lot to keep you guys busy over these next handful of weeks. There will be plenty to talk about with the team, and naturally with the Mercury having 3 competitors for the national team, that's going to lead to a lot of topic and speaking points and conversations to be had, and a lot to just kind of glean and look at. So I'll definitely be doing some writing and film sessions and Twitter work on those 3 players, as well as Rebecca Allen participating in this year's Olympics. It'll be a lot of fun to kind of bridge the gap with this downtime that we'll inevitably have. But I also do think that it's a perfect opportunity for us to integrate ourselves back in with our community and give you all a microphone to kind of ask questions and just kind of have a little bit more personable dialogue past leaving comments, which we always appreciate during our live podcasts.
Yeah, and absolutely, while we're on the topic, actually, I do want to give a big shout out to the live chat today. It has been absolutely hipping and hopping. Y'all are now talking about my height again, which is just epic. But I mean, we've had so many of you guys in here today, and it's just been a blast. Yes, exactly. 9'6". I grow about 3 inches every day. I keep having to move my backdrop up on the wall, so I have room to stand while I record. There's no longer any chairs that will fit me. So,
wow, I'm catching up on these comments now. Y'all are funny.
Stephen really did have his hands full with me in Phoenix this weekend, okay? Nonetheless, Stephen, did you have a lot of fun today?
I did have a lot of fun. And shout out to my homie Chris lying about my height in the chat. First of all, you need to stop it. Stop the cap. I'm taller than you, and we can leave it at that.
Well, I'm gonna just say if I'm 9'6", Stephen's 9'8".
Exactly. And I'm gonna leave it at that too, because I ain't the tallest individual, but I know I'm not 5'1". Don't let my man lie to y'all in the comments.
Absolutely, but Stephen,
and Melissa lying too. So we got 2 lions in the chat.
Wow, you got people all over you today, bro.
I appreciate them for tapping in. So there's my thank you after shooting down the cap going on in the comments.
Well, where can they find you in the meantime before our episode next Tuesday?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at StayTrueS.3. You can also find me on GoPHNX. We'll definitely have writing up over the next handful of days, talking about things pertaining to Team USA, as well as the individual usage and production of the Mercury's Big 3 with Team USA. And also, as you can see below my face now, my YouTube channel, Stephen Pridgeon Gardner 3. You can follow me on here if you're listening to us and watching us on YouTube. We definitely have film sessions coming on the team. Any potential player interactions I might have over Zoom or interactions with coaches. Definitely looking to have some fun with this Olympics and kind of tapping in with some history that's going to happen in the next handful of weeks. So tap in with us over there. And now let's keep continuing to clean up the Discord space of ours, because it's too much great basketball going on for us to let it go anywhere else.
Facts. But over on Twitter, follow us both combined over on PHNX_Mercury, where they continuously think that we are the real team, and I am just here to inform you that we are not. And on my personal Twitter at Erika Lee Day. Other than that, though, we are really excited to be back with you guys next Tuesday again with the mailbag. So be sure to submit your questions, and we will see you guys then.
We all silly like the mayor.